Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Readings That Heal with Marissa Moments, where we are forcing reflection through accountability and action by giving channeled messages, real life stories, and their healing translations, so that way you may be triggered into effective change towards healing generational wounds, trauma, toxic patterns, etc. So, as a disclaimer though, we are not hand-holding, so if you are sensitive and if you are not ready to take accountability and step into your own personal divinity, then this might not be the place for you. And if that's the case, I send you with Godspeed, love, and light, and I will give you a moment right here, right now to exit the room. Okay, so now that if you're still here, then that means you are my type of people, and welcome. I love you. Yes. Anywho, I have this real life experience that I have to share with you because Spirit made me write it down, right? So I'm just going to give you the name up front because that's going to tell you everything, right? It's called Jello Snot, right? I know you're like, what the heck is Jello Snot? Well, I'm about to tell you. So here's the thing, right? I buy Jello cups for my twins. I have 5-year-old twins. Well, at least in this moment, in this present moment, I don't know when you're listening to this, they are 5 years old. And they love it. They love Jello cups, and I can usually find them on sale in some sort of form. I'm not a brand bougie or anything like that. So I figure, it's inexpensive and they love it. So win-win, right? Anywho, the only problem is that every single time I open it for them, there's this gnarly string of Jello, like excrement that consistently lands on my hand. It totally grosses me out every single time. And no matter how I try to angle, rip, position, or anything else, it literally attacks me. It just slings onto my hand and I'm just like, ew, right? So what Spirit did was Spirit correlated this with healing in that sometimes we can avoid the nasty-ish, right? We think to and tell ourselves that maybe if we take a new approach, things will be different. Yet the structure of that air quotes thing remains. So the question becomes, what do we continue to do whilst awaiting a different outcome? Now, of course, we know that by now that is essentially the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Now, is there anything wrong with this literal or proverbial Jello cup, right? In terms of you doing the same things over and over, or having something in your life that is going to turn out icky and yucky, right? Now, there's nothing wrong with having it in your life. But here's the thing, right? Until you, or in the twins' case, me, are ready to move on to the next, then we can continue to anticipate that proverbial, or even literal, in my case, snot slap on the hand. So the other question is, are you ready to move on? Now, that's what I wrote down, but what I receive as I'm sharing that story with you is what this is really talking about. And of course, take it as it resonates, because it may resonate as I'm about to tell you, or in a completely different way. In either way, you are completely 100% correct, right? But the thing of it is, we have certain things and or people in our lives that we know aren't necessarily like the greatest. We're not going to always enjoy the outcome of that hangout, right? Of that relationship, of that conversation, of that experience, right? But sometimes, like in the case of these Jello cups, they have to be there. Now, we can correlate this and relate this to like being in a work environment, right? Now, there's certain people in the workspace that maybe you don't vibe with, maybe certain people that you just honestly don't even want to deal with. And if it were not for the necessity of work for that paycheck, then you would definitely have nothing to do with them. Kind of like me in that Jello cup, right? Because of that snot that slaps on my hand. Oh yeah, I'm going to wear this analogy into the ground because I really need you to imagine this and envision it, because I have to experience it, so you do too. Anyway, the thing of it is that sometimes we do have these people in our lives that we cannot control, right? We cannot help because they have to be present based off of our circumstances or situation. So in that sense, it's almost like we have to make peace with it, right? We have to figure out a way to say, you know what? Okay, I know this is going to be great. but I'm going to have to deal with it. Now, I'm not talking about condoning any type of abusive situation, right? Now, that's different. But I am talking about necessity where you work. Now, of course, if you're in a situation and a place and space where you're employed and you just cannot get along with your employers or the other staff or anything like that, then of course you are encouraged to start looking towards moving on. I'm not saying make an announcement. I'm not saying go to work every day like, man, I can't wait to get out of here, because you might you might get that ticket to ride sooner than later, right? And if you're wise, you make sure that you have the next thing prepared before you take your feet all the way out the door. But anyway, I mean, that, of course, is not talking about walking through faith. That's talking about walking through common sense, right? Anywho, okay, I got to refocus. The message here is make sure that if something is not in a divine alignment with you, once you grow past and out of that space, don't try to keep going back to it, because you're just going to get that Jello Snot slap. If you can help it, if you can take control over the situation, then you can take control over the situation and call your power back, right? As it relates to these Jello cups, my kids love them. So until I come across something that they love just as much and is just as inexpensive, then I'm going to deal with that Jello Snot slap on my hand. But for you, maybe you have to deal with it. Maybe you have to make peace with it. Or maybe it's just your sign that you need to move on because you're doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. Again, this is about taking it how it resonates and applying it accordingly. Now, remember, the only rules that we operate under in the system is not to cause any intentional harm to self or another. Outside of that, do you, boo. It's all about healing. It's all about accountability. It's all about growth and triggering others as well, not intentionally, but through your growth, through your elevation, through your change, through your ascension, you will essentially trigger others. But again, I'm going into a whole new podcast here. So hopefully you're picking up what I'm putting down, because I'm going to end it here. And as always, if this message resonates, then that means it is definitely for you. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if it doesn't resonate, then that's fine too. Just, keep it pushing. Or listen to the previous message or the message that comes after this, because you never know when you're going to get a divine reflection of yourself. And that's all, folks. Well, actually, not really, because what I'm going to say is, if you vibe with me, if you are feeling the lessons, if you are feeling the delivery, if you are feeling the accountability, then join me, right? Find me all over social media and stalk the bejesus out of me. I'm not talking about illegal stalking. I'm not talking about creepy stalking. I'm just talking about, let's be friends. Anywho, but when you look me up, just remember, it is Marissa Moments, and that is Marissa with one S, because as I always like to say, there is only one me. So until next time, before I forget, make sure you tune into this channel every single Monday or anytime thereafter. But new episodes are released every single Monday morning at 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, U.S., and that's all, folks, for real, for real. So until next time, I hope you have the best day ever, and I wish you the happiest of healing.